I've seen a police truck drive by, but that's pretty much it. I think we're sort of standing for ourselves as far as I can tell.
Well, we appreciate you talking with us, Jonathan. We're glad you're okay. And yes, if there's tremors or more that happens, please call back and we'll talk with you some more. But interesting that you happen to be visiting and you just went through a 7.5 earthquake. Thank you. We want to talk now with Kanak Mani. He's a journalist with the Himalayan Times. And Kanak, what can you tell us about what you're hearing as far as the damage and whether anyone's been injured from this?
Well, the shocks and aftershocks are continuing, so there is only quick information available from here and there. There are the landmark building of Kathmandu Valley is a tall spire known as Dharara, Dhara. It has come down totally, and there are houses have cracked or fallen, not only in Kathmandu Valley's urban space, but a large part of central Nepal has been hit by this earthquake. And the word we have from the villages is that whole neighborhoods, buildings are down. It's in a way too early to know and not to arouse any kind of panic. We have no clue as yet as to the extent of the casualties, but certainly we know of deaths that have happened. And when you look at the buildings that have come down in the inner city, in some photographs that have already come out, it seems clear that this is a massive earthquake, probably the biggest earthquake after the 1934 earthquake that hit Nepal and nearby India.
Well, so this is very likely something that many of the people there have never experienced before. And you said that you described one building that came down in particular. How did you describe that building?
Oh, this building is a landmark spire of Nepal, about 150-year-old tall spire. It's in a kind of a Mediterranean style, but is an old traditional building of Nepal. It's actually a tall spire, a tower rather, and it has come down in toto. But what was significant about the earthquake, it is about 7.6 in the Richter scale, but it was never ending. The ground shook and swayed, and it was never ending. And then after that, many aftershocks, which continue actually till now. So people are out of their buildings or out of their neighborhoods into any bit of open space they can find. And in these matters, even though the people are not cognizant of the tectonic plate signs, they know enough that aftershocks can actually kill as much as the premier shock. So yeah, people are waiting for the aftershock and being very careful and being very scared.
Well, Kanak, where were you when you talked about it lasting so long? Where were you, and how long did it take you? Our last guest, they couldn't quite figure out that this was an earthquake occurring. Did you realize as soon as it started that you were experiencing an earthquake?
It's an unreal situation. I was with my father and family friends sitting down for lunch on the ground floor. And of course, you shake more when you're in the upper floors. But it was like a moving ship in a turbulent sea. It was swaying, and it was difficult to actually, even from the ground floor, to move out of the building, holding my father, holding an elderly neighbor, and then my mother, who's unwell, to carry her out of her bedroom and to come out to the lawn. So it was clear that it was clear to us right there and then that this is a earthquake, the big one that we've been waiting for. I have also written about earthquakes. We know all about the tectonics, how the so-called Indian plate is pushing under the Tibetan plate, and that leads to slippage every 60, 70 years, and then there's a big earthquake, and we know that this big earthquake is due. Now, I can't tell you whether this one was that big earthquake, but it certainly felt like that. And as I was telling you earlier, this is probably the most massive earthquake to hit central Nepal since 1934.
Well, that is some very good information, and we really appreciate it. This is 2015, so yes, it has been a while since this area has experienced something this big.
What What earthquake seismologists tell us is that you should expect one about 60 to 70 years. So in a way, quote unquote, this was overdue. But what I cannot tell you right now, and I'm afraid that there will be quite a few casualties, but there's no way to report to you at this point as to how many. I am hoping that our airfield, which is built on a sandbar, is okay. Just a minute. Oh, and I'm just getting very sad news that the Basantapur Darbar Square, the main Darbar complex, the traditional house of the Malla kings of Nepal, which has been the tourist attraction, that it is down. And this would indicate not only the destruction of heritage, but that if that whole complex known as the Basantapur Darbar or the Kathmandu Darbar Square is down, that if that is true, which is the word I've just received as I'm speaking to you, in which case it also indicates that the inner city of Kathmandu is much worse hit than the outlying areas where I am in right now.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that is tragic news, because you also told us that a landmark spire that's 150 years old is down as well, and also telling us that there are neighborhoods that have had collapsed homes. So I certainly hope the news as you get it doesn't get much worse than what you're hearing now, but we certainly appreciate your information, Kanak Mani with the Himalayan Times. We hope to talk with you again as you continue to do your reporting. Thank you so much for talking with us. We want to turn now to a CNN journalist who joins us now by phone from Kathmandu. That's Manesh Shrestha. And Manesh, we just heard from Kanak Mani, another journalist, that he's hearing some historic buildings have fallen there in Nepal. What are you hearing?
I have not heard anything, because I myself got injured in the earthquake and come to a hospital. I came to one hospital and there were 4 dead bodies that were brought because of the earthquake, and there were dozens of people being treated outside in the open. The casualties rate will become bigger, will go higher now, that's definite. And I was turned away because I needed some stitches because they were too busy with other more serious patients. There have been broken bones, broken legs, hands. People have been injured in the head. So it is quite chaotic. This is the second hospital I've come to, and it is quite chaotic scenes out here.
Oh, my goodness. So how were you injured? And you haven't been able to get any medical help at this point?
Not yet, because I was turned away because I was not a priority. What happened was, as I was running outside from the house, I was swung. The earthquake swung me, took me off balance, and I hit against the wall, and I got a deep cut, which will need stitches, it seems. But my stitches, giving me stitches was not a priority for a hospital that I went to. So I've come to another hospital to get some stitches.
Manesh, are you walking all this way to try to get to a hospital?
Yes, I'm walking all this way because there were aftershocks as well, and it was too risky. But the walk was not very long, but I did walk.
And the last journalist told us that
there have been a lot of casualties. There are a lot of old buildings in Kathmandu. There are centuries-old buildings in Kathmandu. There have been people. I saw a person whose head was totally crushed. I saw another old woman lying in the hospital who was dead because, she was, because of the earthquake. She was injured in the earthquake. So I was told in the hospital that I just went to that there were 4 dead bodies. 4 people who died. I can see around me people being, people in serious state.